So welcome back to our final portion of today's Baer Faxt Live from Art Basel Miami Beach. Those of you know this is our 1-year anniversary being here. Thank you to Art Basel for having us again. By the way, we love all 4 different Art Basels. Even when you were called Perry Plus, we still loved you. So we'd also like to thank our sponsor BitGo, the leading infrastructure provider of digital asset solutions. We'll talk about your NFT program in a minute. For sponsoring this edition of the Baer Faxt Live from. They're the preferred security and operational backbone for more than 1,500 institutional clients in 50 countries. That's most of the clients. Another 150 countries need to get going with BitGo, but they do offer custody, wallets, staking, trading, financing, and more. So here we have Christine Berry, partner in Barry Campbell. It's like leaving the floor of an art fair on opening day at VIP. What is wrong with you?
I want to say Martha is so angry with me right now. She was like, where are you going? To talk to whom? I said, it's really important, Martha. But I have to say, I literally had to sneak out. There were so many people that were kind of grabbing at me.
She's jealous that she's not.
Exactly. I'm the talker.
You're the talker. So how's it going in general inside the convention center?
Well, it's really exciting for us to be here. Well, this is our first year to be in the gallery section. We are beyond excited. We did one of the smaller sections 2 years ago. We had a Lynn Drexler booth and we sold out that booth. And then we were not here last year. So now we're here, very excited. And it feels great. I mean, the energy's good.
We talked about the process with Bridget earlier of like, what did you do differently for your application? What made it work to get into the main gallery section this time and not others, do you think?
I think we honed in, the application is like going to grad school. You're applying. We have to really put the words down perfectly because we only have so much effort to sort of tell what our program is. Nobody knows who our artists are, really. So I think some of it was the PR that we're getting with the gallery, some of our artists, the markets are rising. But we also kind of spun it that it's about 2 women business owners. We have had a specialty with women artists for a long time, and a lot of people are doing this now, but we're sort of calling ourselves pioneers, that we've been doing it for a while. And we just changed the language, that we're the experts, and we are here with our primary artists and estates. And
say a little bit more about the program, because it's interesting for our audience because they tend to think, oh, they're going to have like the David Zwirners and all that kind of thing. And we do that for sure. But it's also interesting for us, our audience, to say, listen, there are other perspectives that are as valid. So
I really appreciate you having us for this reason alone.
But explain a little bit more.
So we represent 34 artists and estates with a specialty of women from the 1950s. We also have a great contemporary program as well. But we started out years ago, basically, we were researching artists. You have to have a website and you have to have artists on that website. And so we were digging around different archives, the Skowhegan and Betty Parsons and Martha Jackson, and went through those papers. And instead of looking at the names that we all stop at, we stopped at the names we didn't know. And from there, would basically making cold calls before emails and find a family member and see if there were artists. And this is a hard road to go because people want to hear why an artist is important. What have they sold for at auction? We literally started at ground zero with all of these artists and have built these markets. But it comes back to good paintings. And that's why we're sitting here. And that's why we're in Basel, Miami Beach, because the artwork is excellent.
So I have a different bias being raised by a woman artist.
Yes.
An abstract artist, not an abstract artist, but certainly, and were she sitting here, she would say like, well, I was good enough, I made it, I'm one of the boys, and if they didn't make it, they weren't good enough. How do you answer history's bias there?
Well, we have a beautiful Ethel Schwabacher painting out there from 1961. She showed with Betty Parsons' gallery. She had 5 shows in the 1950s. She was in 13 group exhibitions in the 50s and 60s. She was in every Whitney annual from 1949 to 62. So I say these artists were there, they were showing, but circumstances, is it because they were a woman? Did things go out of favor? Certainly. Different styles went in and out.
Was it the power of like very few curators and critics who were really the gatekeepers at the time?
I think so.
It's like
And
Clement
Greenberg. And, you know, we all have the different Clement Greenberg stories, and every one of our artists, there are some of our artists that said, you know, Clement Greenberg told me the history of art relies on my artwork, and then other people said he came to my studio and he hated it. So he's an interesting character. It is interesting because criticism now, art criticism is dead.
Yeah.
And so for all that people gripe about Clement Greenberg, it is refreshing to go into someone's studio or hear someone give an opinion, to come in and say, I like this is good, I like the composition here. People don't do that anymore. So I do appreciate that. But so I would say a lot of the artists that we're showing actually do have historic backbones to them. And they were, but on the other hand, there's someone like Lynn Drexler who never showed. She had a diary and she said, Betty Parsons is coming to my studio tomorrow. And there's nothing. And it's sad, it's heartbreaking, but she continued to paint her whole life and she couldn't stop. She's a true artist. So that's the kind of artist that she got known to be sort of a main regional painter. And that's how I got to know her work many, 20 years ago. I was selling her work for $45,000 as a main.
That was a lot of money then.
It was, and for everyone was like, who is this? And we were like, these are pretty good. We'll put it at 45,000, you know.
Well, let me ask you a question. You're sitting there going, 44. That's too cheap. 46. What are we, nuts? That'll never work. It's like, how do prices happen?
You know, we really do set markets. So some of these artists, we're looking at things and we try to use comparables to other artists that we think are similar, but a lot of it is intuition. I think people don't want to hear that, but I think you have to know, can I sell this for 45,000? Can I do 65,000? Is it going to be too much? Nobody wants to hear that, but it has to start somewhere. You know, you have to start somewhere.
It's really hard. And being on the buy side, I was dealing with a client of mine today during the fair. It's like, why is it that price? And it's like, it's a hard question to answer. It's like, I understand why my car is that price. I understand why my Wheaties are more than my Cheerios, but I understand your prices.
Well, so now,
Artist prices.
what we do now, I can say, is after 11 years, we've done repeated solo shows. We sell out the shows. So we strategically raise.
Like 20%
so I can tell you, I can explain
What's the
to
formula?
you. It depends on the artist.
Okay.
And it depends on the demand. Like some artists, you can feel the energy. Like with Lynn Drexler, I keep going back to it. But let me tell you, I was selling those for $100,000 and then one went at auction for 1.2. And I literally raised the price to 100 thinking that was crazy. And then I watched one a couple years ago for 1.2 million and I was in the auction room, somebody flipped it and it went for 600,000, the one that I had just sold for 100 before my eyes in the auction. We were trying to buy it back and I thought, no problem, we'll get it for 200,000, and it kept going. I called the gallery, I was like, hold everything, don't sell it, something's happening here. So, you know, those things do happen.
What about when it goes the other way? No one talks about when prices or people go out of favor. So, I mean, you're fortunate now. Certainly women artists over a certain age are definitely like, oh, they're 90, we can start to do that, or they were a certain age. But it's like, oh my God, if you're an old white guy.
Yeah.
Did you represent men?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot of color field artists. We have probably 30% men. So we do. We have Dan Christensen, Larry Zox, some really important color field artists from the 60s. You know, their markets were the ones that, when we started, were probably the ones that were really booming. They have not gone back, but it's holding, let's say. It's steady.
I'd love to find my Larry Zox interview that I did when I was in 6th grade for a paper at school.
Oh.
I did. The one that people really want is my Robert Smithson one.
Oh, that.
But somewhere at Riverdale, there might be a copy of all these interviews. But I was around then, and it's true, who's up and who's down. It's like, but you can feel it.
You can feel the energy, and we're steady though. Just because Larry Zox at this moment may not be the top, the paintings are excellent. We did a beautiful show. It was reviewed in Art Forum. They're solid paintings. People want Larry Zox paintings. There's no question. The women are hot. We're here with the women artists, but you know, so I think everybody gets to sit out sometimes. You take a little break, come back. we just steadily just keep doing shows. We believe in the artists we show. We're not like a quick, that's one thing I learned is we're not interested, we're kind of married to our artists, so we keep pushing forward with them.
Well, I think everybody says that, but not everybody does that.
I know.
And that's really up to the viewer to figure out. We were talking earlier about what you need to know. It's like not just seeing the painting and seeing the story is the commitment of the dealer. It's like that's kind of critical to this act of faith that you're buying into for all this thing.
We feel pretty lucky because when we started, there were people that believed us, that believed in what we're doing, believed in the artwork, and I'm grateful to them.
But the mom and dad aside.
Yeah, exactly. They can't afford art. But the passion, Martha and I are passionate, enthusiastic, and I think for us, we're not as well known in the art world. Like other dealers don't know who we are.
Was that why being in the main section is kind of critical?
Yes. It is. It's important, and I feel like finally we're getting to know other dealers, and it's good. But for so long, we were starting a business, and that's the thing that people forget. Like all of our energy is to sell paintings, to pay the rent, to put a catalog together. And so I have to say, we were not so great about schmoozing with other dealers, and I think that's one of the reasons it's been a little slower for us to be here. But we're here, and that's okay because we have a solid business, and I feel like we were able to focus on our artists for a long time, and now it's paying off.
Well, it's fun, right?
It's great.
But so you're sort of like a startup, and all the galleries are startups, but you're sort of like, there's I forget the word, but we're mom and pop shops, we're mom and mom shops. And like, what's going on with, the art fairs get a lot of attention and a lot of traffic. And I don't know about you, I go less and less to galleries. What's it feel like on the other side when it's not this week?
Well, we're fortunate where we are in Chelsea. We're in the old Robert Miller gallery space, and it's a beautiful space. So we do get pretty good walk-in traffic. But what's different is when we were on 24th Street and it was 2,000 square feet, Martha and I actually sat out in the space, and every person that came in, we said, "Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you?" And so now that's changed that I have an office. So that feels different to me because I don't feel...
That's part of what I don't like about Chelsea is upstairs, behind the thing, the people there. And we did a podcast, I think it came out last week with Barbara Castelli. And I talked to Barbara about Leo used to sit there, and you walk in Tuesday, Saturday, they're sitting at the desk, not in the little cubicle thing. There's fucking Leo Castelli. Hi, oh, you like that? And it's like, that was great. And I think, I understand why you can't sit there and answer 3,000 times, no, we don't have a bathroom. And why is it so expensive?
Can I show you my portfolio?
Can I show you my portfolio? And I understand, but we've lost a little bit of that personal touch.
Yep.
So why don't you take turns sitting out?
I do. I actually walk out enough. And let me say this, we have a camera in the back, so I can see when I want to come out or who I think. So, but we have... Our whole sort of methodology is different. When I used to work for a big Midtown gallery, an old school 19th century American gallery, and none of the salespeople, there were 6 salespeople, no one ever said a word to anybody that came in. And I found it so awkward. There'd be a painting hanging behind me and someone would be leaning above my head and no one would say, and so finally I was like, "Hi, how are you today?" And I started outselling everybody because I couldn't take it. And I just a simple hello, which sounds silly. And in Chelsea, in our small gallery, when we were sitting out, I remember I said hello to a guy and he said, "You're the first person who has talked to me, started the conversation in 20 galleries that I've been to." He said, "I'm here to spend money today. Show me what you got." And so I just really try to keep that to heart. And all of our staff is very friendly and are quick to jump up. There's no waiting around. If you need a price, there's no waiting around for the price for me.
I need a sales director to come
20 minutes later.
20 minutes later to say, "You're not good enough for me to tell the price." It's like...
It's exhausting.
Here's the other one I love. I don't know if your gallery directors ever do this. It's like, when they say to me, it's only $800,000.
No.
I'm thinking, really? It's like, I'm seeing those shoes. I don't think you've got an extra 800,000 after-tax dollars sitting in your cookie jar, but I'm glad you think it's only 800K. So if we could take the word only out of prices.
Yep.
Have you ever said it?
No, I don't. I am really trained. I'm very specific about, and I can't stand when people say 800 or 8. I'm like, is it 8? If it's $800, I will take it. It drives me nuts, that stuff.
Can I tell you a funny story with
Yes.
this? So I was at a Phillips sale, and there was a Richard Prince painting that came up, and it was bought by a big hedge fund guy that I know, and he came out. It was $650,000, and he came out and said, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, you know, I used to on the drawing for that Richard Prince." He said, "Really? What'd you pay for it?" I said, "12." He goes, $12,000. I said, "You weren't listening. 12?" He said, $1,200. I said, "No, $12. The painting you just paid $650. I have the drawing for that was made for it of the joke. $12." And he got a little green, but his painting's probably worth $3 million now.
Right.
And I sold my $12 drawing for like $1,000 to pay bills, but
1,200.
but only 80.
Only. Yep.
80 what?
Yeah. No, I know. It's we try to not be that. It's really important, I think, and this is why I think our gallery is different, is that we really try to be approachable. We try to have prices accessible. We're smiley, we're happy. I know it's different. We are not in our laptops. I will be here on Sunday till 6 p.m. I will be. And so we have to be. We have to be.
If you watch me, it's like, get your face on the laptop, stand up, be there on the last day, and
you don't know who. Yeah, and I would also say our clients are not necessarily the 11 a.m. people that are running through here. Yes, we want a lot of them to be.
How American is your clientele?
Mostly American, but we are going to Art Basel, Hong Kong. So we have started selling a lot to Asia, mainland China.
Because?
We have been working with several art consultants from the region, and one of these art consultants has a fabulous sort of video program that she does, and she comes to the gallery and she'll feature me, and we sell paintings through these videos and these talks, and she translates it, and she's kind of a minor star in China. And she's amazing. And so she's sort of, I would say, opened the doorway. And now I have a clientele there. And now we go to Art Basel, Hong Kong. And now I will go visit everybody in Shanghai and Beijing. And very excited about that. So, yeah, so we're growing.
Does the art mean the same thing to them as it does? That's like, do they relate in the same way?
I guess so. I mean, not quite as much about the historical works, but aesthetically, yes, I do think the New York School, they understand how the art world shifted to New York, and so I think that's of interest. But I will say Bernice Bing, who is a Chinese-American artist in San Francisco, that is one of the artists we are bringing one of the estates, and I can see from her clientele that, you know, they're buying.
So during COVID, when all this was picking up, where you're thinking, oh my God, we better open an office in all those places. Did you think about it?
I cried. Well, first of all, you can't get out of, whatever people say, you can't get out of a lease. Our company, I called them to try to get a discount at least. And they were like, "You've always paid your rent on time, Christine. We believe in your business. You're going to be just fine." And I'm like, oh my God. So they said they would defer 10% of the rent until January of the next year. I was like, well, no thanks. And so, you know what? I love having a gallery. I had dear friends calling me saying, it's over. This is not what the business is anymore. You need to just close the shop. And Martha and I sat together and we said, we love doing shows. We love having a roster of artists. We can do this. And it just, you know, it was about 1 month in, and I was at the gallery by myself, and the phone rang, and it was one of my good clients, and he said, "I'm at my house in Colorado Springs. I hate all the art here. I'm looking on your website," and I was like, yes, this is going to be okay. And so it was. And then we started selling a lot.
So now you have an office and a gallery in Colorado Springs. It's like they're everywhere. It's in like Jackson Hole. Why do I have to see like artwork walking down the street to the cowboy bar to see like a second-rate Sam Francis. I don't want to see that. But you never thought, okay, we're expanding into Asia. Do you have a staff members or?
We have a small staff. We have 4 or 5 people. So I really love New York. I've lived in New York for 25 years, so I don't see that, but I'm never going to say never. But I don't see right now, for us, this is what these fairs are all about, is that we get to come. We do a lot of regional fairs.
I think it's also the demand of the living primary artists. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, well, if you don't do dinner for 200 for me, and if you don't do this or that, then I'm going down the street. That's a pressure.
We work with Pippi Holdsworth in London, so we do team up. We work with White Cube now on Lynn Drexler, so they're doing shows in London and Hong Kong. So that's how we're sort of managing.
They're doing a major show in New York of Lynn Drexler.
We're doing one in November.
Oh, they're doing
What?
Did they not tell you?
What? This wonderful collaboration.
This collaboration is like beep, 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 beep. Here comes the
Okay,
truck.
stop. That's another cover. That's another day.
No, it's Jay. I know you're watching, Jay.
All good, Jay. We love working with you
good.
guys.
You know, it's like collaboration is good.
Well, Martha and I collaborate.
Actually, collaboration
is great.
It's kind of essential now, right?
Yeah. And we, I think because I have a business partner, we are naturally collaborating every day. We curate together, like we are a good team. So it's not difficult for us to collaborate. And so far it's been all right, but
Do you have veto power?
You know what? We both seem to know when to step back. We really have not had any, we have the same vision about what we want.
I'll take the two of you for a drink. I can get
Yeah,
something.
okay, yeah.
I can get,
I don't know. I think
I've broken up marriages before.
I think you'd be surprised. No, we have the same, but here's the deal. If we go to a studio and I don't like an artist as much as she does, I'll say, really, are you sure? And she's like, no, I feel like, and I'll say, all right, let's give it a try. But so sometimes we each have our own thing. And sometimes with an artist.
You have one, like, I'm really the expert in this.
Yes, so we're point people for different artists.
And then you have different sort of clients that you each relate to.
Yep. Yeah. We are different point. We totally separate. Like, I may not even know her clients. They don't even know I exist. But we have to divide and conquer. There's no other way to do this, We're small enough, and we just hired a new director, and we need her to take care of a whole nother group of people.
Let me ask you a different question. So we just had one of the world's leading art attorneys. He said, man, if you've got work here, you should have a UCC on every work of art in your booth. Do you?
A UCC? No.
Do your clients have those? So there's like advice of like how to protect yourself as the dealer, as the consignor, and all that. And he's like, man, on every work, every day, every time.
I think we have a paragraph. I think we do in our consignment agreement about UCC, but I don't know the details.
So it's interesting, the vantage points of like how to protect everybody, like who really owns it. Right. You're getting this painting that's from 1957. That's like the friend of all that is like, how sure can you be?
Well, we have a clause in our consignment agreement about title and good title, and that we're indemnified. So if somebody really...
If you think that.
I'm going to believe we're indemnified.
You're going to... Well, that's the interesting thing about the art world. It's like it chooses to believe that. And generally, I'm not a lawyer. I play one on Baer Faxt Live from and podcast. I play a lawyer all the time, and believe me, I know a lot of them. And like, it's like, so as the business is changing, it's like, it becomes like a tricky world.
It's complicated. I mean, I studied art history.
Oh man.
I mean,
doesn't that get in the way?
I came out of the museum world. So this is having a business. This is why I'm saying it's taking all of our energy to do all of these things, that we are expert on real estate. We're expert, who knew,
It's like, I was saying to somebody, it's like, how about a budget to a gallery? It's like, what's that? It's like, do you guys have a budget? Of course not. Do you have all these things? Of course not.
No.
And is it working? Totally. So it's like, it's such a bizarre world.
It is a bizarre
Nothing
world.
else functions.
And I do think you have to plan, though. I think this is why you talk about smaller galleries sort of going out of business. We do know how to conserve, and we're conservative on some things, but I think those galleries that are having parties for 200 people, watch out, because this stuff will just, and I don't know what it does in the end.
Are there
ultimately.
less of them here this week? I mean, I didn't get invited to them. That just,
I don't
by the
usually-
way,
it's my
that's the
first
good
time.
news. That's the good news, by the way.
I think there's less from what
It feels
I
like it.
understand, but there's still. I mean, I ran into a gallerist last night. She was my old assistant, and she's a partner at a major gallery now. And she said, "We're hosting a dinner for 200 people tonight." And Martha and I went and had a cocktail with 2 other friends, and I was like, "How much? 200 people? What's that got to be? 250?" We just literally said that's $40,000. That I don't know. I don't know who they invited. And I'm sure they were important, but we don't do business like that. We're literally on the floor, you know.
But some galleries, that's an essential part of their business model. And it's like, if you're coming from a more museum, historical background, you're attracting a client who likes to think that way.
Yeah.
So staying in your lane is great, but it's also, you have to watch out that lane doesn't hit a dead end. You worry about like,
No, because I think we're open. I was at parties last night.
Okay.
Like we do socialize, and I think now that we're sort of connecting more with other dealers, I think it's good. But I do wonder, when we throw a party or a dinner for 25, I do want collectors there and museum people, and not just, like, you can buy those people dinner all the time. So I think you do have to be strategic. If you have money to burn, that's a different story.
I think you have to be, what I tell everybody we work with, you have to be deliberate.
Yes.
Like, why are we doing that? Why am I writing that email? Why are we doing that party? There might be like a really good reason. Why are we doing this fair? Why aren't we doing freeze? Should we be doing this? All those decisions. And I think you guys are working so hard. It's like hamster. It's like getting a break must be difficult.
There is no break.
There is no break.
But we love what we do. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else but here right now. I can tell you that for sure.
I'm starting to look out. It's not that sunny.
I know, that's true. The beach, maybe.
The beach is
good.
The
I
beach
had my beach day.
You had a beach day. You go in the morning before
Go
all
for a
this.
swim sometimes if I can.
So what last thing would you like our audience to know about, like, the fair, what you're doing? What's the takeaway from this? Like, there's the viewer.
Hello, viewer. Well, I think I want to thank Art Basel, because I think it's really important, and I'm grateful to them and to you that you're including some smaller galleries that, we're not selling $20 million paintings. We have a great roster of artists that you can show works of art that people may not know who the artist is, but there's room for us in this fair too. And I think it's good for the art market to just expand a tiny bit. We're still playing the same ball game. We're just with different people, and I think it's going to help that. Like I said, our clients are coming on the weekend, a lot of them from St. Louis or wherever they come from. And I think it's good for all of us to mix and mingle, for me to go to the fancy parties, and for everyone to be together. So just glad to be here.
So the reason we do the Baer Faxt Live from Paris, or we didn't do Paris this year, but London, and we do Hong Kong, is to give you a sense that you're not here, what it feels like at the moment. I mean, it's literally, I'm going to
run.
You're going to run.
I'm going to run.
And do that, but it's like critical to try to get a sense of, like, do I come? When should I come? Why should I come? What's it mean to be here in person versus sending PDFs? And that's what we're trying to help people articulate. So
yes,
thank you.
You got to be here. You got to be here.
Yes, showing up is 90%.
It is.
So once again, thank you for BitGo for sponsoring this edition of the Baer Faxt Live from Art Basel Miami Beach. They were founded in 2013, which is really like, that's a long time.
That's when we were founded.
Yeah. I think I was founded in 1913. But they're the biggest independent digital asset custodian in the world. I'm sure you do a lot of your sales in crypto, so it's good for you to know.
Yep.
And Barry Campbell takes
crypto.
Tron, stablecoin, Ethereum.
UCC code,
Yeah,
all good.
UCCs,
Yeah,
you
all
got
good, yep.
the UCCs for Ethereum, and they handle about 20% of all the on-chain Bitcoin transactions by value in the world. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Now
Good
you
to
do.
know when I do need to know it.
See you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.